पहिले म सबभन्दा पहिला यहाँहरूलाई आफ्नो अमूल्य समय साथ यहाँ उपस्थित हुनुभयो त्यसको लागि म धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु र 3G का हाम्रा आदरणीय अध्यक्ष डाक्टर साहबलाई म के कुरा राखिदिनलाई म अनुरोध गर्छु। धन्यवाद।
थ्याङ्क यू विज्ञान सर। यहाँ उपस्थित हुनुभएका सम्पूर्ण आदरणीय सर म्याडमहरूलाई नमस्ते एन्ड गुड इभिनिङ। अब मैले यसलाई दुईटा पाटोमा बाँडेको छु। सबभन्दा पहिला चाहिँ हाम्रो कन्स्टेन्टको बारेमा मैले केही हाइलाइट गर्छु। त्यसपछि हामीले प्रोग्राम पछि के गर्न सक्छौँ त्यो बारेमा पनि यहाँहरूसँग सेयरिङ गर्न चाहन्छु। र हाम्रो टिम आज धेरै छैनौँ, यहाँ धेरै डागेको पनि छैन र यो म्याक्सिमम 25% भयो भने सजिलो हुन्छ भनेर उहाँले भन्नुभएको थियो। त्यो कारणले अत्यन्तै सानो टिम हामीले इन्फर्मेसन गरेका छौँ। लगभग हामीले 30 को हाराहारीमा हाम्रो एक्सपेक्टेसन थियो। र उहाँको बारेमा मैले भन्नुपर्दा उहाँ चाहिँ चिफ एक्जिक्युटिभ अफिसर एट ओरासे एजेन्सी लन्डन एन्ड Constance is a science educator, metaphysicist and artist who has worked in the fields of wisdom, tradition, therapy, traditional medicine, healing, scientific research and the movement arts over the past four decades, 40 years. He is also a movement artist study and skillful in the mental arts, internal arts, various meditation tradition. He has been in Tibet, India, Japan, yoga and classical dances. Similarly, he has created a number of teaching programs in the area of self-development, therapy, healing and the performing arts. अब यो उहाँको चाहिँ ब्याकग्राउन्ड यदि भन्दै गर्दा हामीले चाहिँ यहाँ नर्सेस हुनुहुन्छ, डक्टर हुनुहुन्छ, मेडिकल डक्टर हुनुहुन्छ, सोसियल सेक्टरका व्यक्तित्वहरू हुनुहुन्छ। अब हामीले के हो भन्दा उहाँसँग सिक्न सक्ने कुराहरू मैले उहाँहरूसँग इन्ट्याक्सन गर्दाखेरि मैले के पाएँ भने यो आजको एकदम बिजी वर्ल्डमा स्ट्रेस रिड्युस कसरी गर्ने, इन्क्रिज ह्याप्पिनेस, फाइन्ड इनर पिस, लर्न मन्त्र मेडिटेसन, यी चिजहरू चाहिँ उहाँहरूसँग आज लिन सकिन्छ। त्यस्तै गरी अब यो टाइटल नै के छ नि, द 3 ब्रेन कन्सन्ट्रेसन, मेन्टल हेल्थ, एभिडेन्स बेस्ड माइन्डफुलनेस। यसको मतलब कुनै लिटरेचरमा आएका कुराहरू होइन, यो एभिडेन्स बेस्डबाट उहाँले चाहिँ आफ्नो रिसर्चबाट आएका कुराहरूलाई आज प्रस्तुत गर्नुहुन्छ। अब हामीले यो उहाँको बारेमा भयो। आफ्टर इन्टरेक्सन वाट नेक्स्ट? अब आज हाम्रो चाहिँ मेजर कुरो चाहिँ यसमा हामीले फोकस गर्नुपर्छ। यसलाई मैले तपाईँलाई एकदम शुद्ध नेपालीबाट भन्नुपर्दा यो हामीले धेरै रिसर्च गर्छौँ, धेरै यस्ता प्रोग्रामहरू सुनाउँछौँ, तर त्यो सुनिसकेपछि भोलि कसरी कन्टिन्यू गर्ने त भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ अत्यन्तै मेजर छ। त्यसले गर्दा हामी छ नि अब यो प्रोग्राम सिकिसकेपछि हाम्रो इन्स्टिट्युसन युनिभर्सिटी अफ 3D जेनेरेसनले चाहिँ कसरी कन्टिन्यू गर्ने त त्यो चाहिँ मेजर छ। र यो आज वन सर्टमा यो चाहिँ सिद्धिँदैन, इट टेक्स भेरी लङ टाइम। त्यसले गर्दा हामी चाहिँ अब फ्युचरमा कसरी कोलाबोरेसन, कोअर्डिनेसन, कम्युनिकेसन गर्ने भनेर आजको प्रोग्राम पछि हामीले त्यो गर्नुपर्छ। अब उहाँ आज प्रोग्राम सिकिसकेपछि त जानुहुन्छ र हामीले फिजिकल्ली र जुमबाट कसरी चाहिँ जान सकिन्छ भनेर चाहिँ त्यो बारेमा चाहिँ हामीले डिस्कस गर्नु जरुरी छ। हाम्रो यो टार्गेट पिपुल के हो भन्दा यो युनिभर्सिटी अफ थ्री जेनेरेसनको यङ एडल्ट्स, कर्पोरेट लिडर्स, रिटायर्ड पर्सनल र त्यस्तै हामीले के हो भने हामी डाइभर्स फिल्डमा चाहिँ हामी अगाडि बढिरहेछौँ र यति भन्दै मैले धेरै अब उ नगरिकन मैले उहाँहरूले नै यो माइक ह्यान्डओभर गर्छु एकछिनमा। हामी अहिले मार्केटमा हेर्दाखेरि, सोसाइटीमा हेर्दाखेरि हरेक यङ पिपुलहरू, एडल्ट्सहरू, प्रोफेसनलहरू यो केमा भनेदेखि सफरिङ गरिरहेको छ। आज हरेक दिन 2000 देखि 2500 युथहरू आउट अफ नेपाल भइरहेको छ। मार्केटमा कामको अत्यन्तै आवश्यक छ। कामको खोजीमा युथहरू बाहिर गइरहेको छ। लगभग 80 लाख युथहरू आउट अफ नेपाल छ। यो यति धेरै प्रब्लम छ। यो प्रब्लमलाई हामी सर्ट आउट गर्न पनि के हो भने हामीले हरेक खालका मान्छेहरूले कोअर्डिनेसन, कम्युनिकेसन र हामीले चाहिँ एउटा कसरी हामीले वर्किङ टुगेदर गर्न सक्छौँ भनेर हामी सँगै काम गरिरहेको छौँ। र यति भन्दै मैले यहाँ आउनुभएका सम्पूर्ण आदरणीय सम्पूर्ण सर म्याडमहरूलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद भन्दै अब आज सबभन्दा पहिला त उहाँकै कुरो बढी सुनौँ र त्यसपछि मैले फेरि के भने कसरी हामी सँगै काम गर्न सक्छौँ त्यसको बारेमा पनि पछि सेयरिङ गर्न सक्छौँ। र आई वुड लाइक टु वेलकम मिस्टर कन्स्टेन्ट to his presentation, and hopefully he needs around 1.5 hours, right? That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajendra KC, for the introduction. And today I'm going to be making a presentation not only on the science of mindfulness, but we're going to look at what is mindfulness as a function of what is mind. Now, most of the time, when I ask people what is mind, and I ask them to point in themselves, where is your mind? What do we do? Where do we point? Here?
No.
Here?
No.
We say this, don't we?
No.
Because we've been influenced by a Western way of understanding what mind is. Actually, it's referring to something that we're going to be looking at. Please. And the most important thing to understand where mind is concerned is there are two fundamental different ways of seeing in life. And you could say East and West. The reason for that is because the Western world has developed mechanistic science that has integrated itself through the efforts of René Descartes, who was a French mathematician philosopher, and Sir Isaac Newton, who was obviously a British scientist. And the mechanics and the worldview that we have today in science is based on what it is that these two men have laid as a foundation. And what it is that they speak about is very relevant to the physical 3D world. But it's not very good when it comes to smaller. Louder? Well, it's just, yeah. Well. So, the slide before was about me, but Dr. Rajendra explained certain things. Actually, if you go back, I'm a professor of cognitive science, integrated medical practitioner. I'm a mental health expert. My area in mental health has always looked at an alternative approach to psychiatry and psychology. And the alternative comes from using the experience that I have had over 40 years in looking at how to deal with these issues that we are daily trying to deal with, but not very successfully when it comes to either let's call them allopathic medicines or pharmaceutical preparations, because their purpose is to try to keep a condition from getting worse. And unfortunately, the current pharmaceutical industry produces medicines which impact a change. So they are not natural in terms of the way the body responds. They're very efficient and effective at getting a quick result, but they are not looking at cause to an effect. They basically look at symptoms. The symptoms are the sign of a condition. And so what we know is when we have X condition, we can use Y types of methodologies and or medicines to get some responses. They usually work quickly, but they usually last a short period of time. So we either need to increase the dose or we increase the frequency. So that's basically the way in which we look at things. It's from a mechanistic perspective. What we need to look at here, my medical approach is different, but we'll get to that later. I want to look at mind first. Volume okay? What is mind? In terms of a dictionary description or definition, it's that part of a person that makes it possible for them to think, feel, and understand things. Typically, and that's basically a Cambridge Dictionary definition, or it's a very intelligent person. And in the verbal context, it means take care, mind your step, mind the gap, mind the low ceiling or whatever. It means pay attention. Continue. So I look at the nature of mind. When we look at mind, first and foremost, it's based on a model that a human being is an organism with many systems. Circulatory system, nervous system, digestive system, etc. So the way in which we choose to see something governs the way in which we end up seeing it, thinking about it, and communicating with it. So if we look at ourselves as an organism with many systems, it's very similar to a machine with many parts. So if we were to begin to understand that we are more than just a machine with many parts, a human being is a conscious entity, constantly expanding. That means we are not limited to our daily activity in terms of our energy, the amount of energy that we have, dynamic, not static, interactive, not closed system, like in a bubble, energy and information matrix. That's very important to consider because first and foremost, we have some form of energy in the form of body electric, without which we die. Secondly, the information is what we pick up from our external environment. We have many forms of stimuli, light, sound, electricity, magnetic fields, metals, heavy metals, and basically pollutants in the air and the water we drink. So all of these stimuli activate a response in the body. In fact, the body gets triggered and the body tries to balance out through our homeostasis because it works 24 hours a day to try to keep you balanced, whether you're aware of it or not. So all these different stimuli happen at the same time. Depending on where you are, the body is picking up all of these messages and trying to balance them out. That puts a stress. They are all potential stressors. A stressor is something that stresses. Gravity is a stressor. Barometric pressure is a stressor. Temperature, humidity are all stresses if you can't balance. If you're the kind of person who finds it all too much and the heat gets too much, the humidity gets too much, etc. So they're all activators, they're catalysts. And when I look at, is the pointer around anywhere? See if it's working. Okay. Yeah. So mind is that space which represents our collective awareness. It isn't the mental faculty alone or something that deals with feelings and thoughts alone. It is basically a domain where we are picking up messages from our thoughts, from our feelings, from our senses, and the body electric. So these are all portals of information. They're all different in terms of their frequency and the way in which they catalyze a response in our conscious mind. Cognitive science looks at the way in which we learn things by the way in which we pick up information from our external and our internal environment. That means ourselves as well as our external environment. Everything that I've just said, temperature, pressure, humidity, light, sound, magnetism, people around us, objects around us, space that we go to in nature or in a space like this, which is enclosed and also has concentrated electromagnetic fields, etc. All of these are stimulants. We just don't think about them because our body is working 24/7 to try to give you a level of balance. That is called homeostasis. Homeostasis is not static. It isn't, now I've got homeostasis and everything's fine. It can be broken in a second, in an instant. So it's a dynamic homeostasis that we need to learn to measure and to basically adapt to. Everything I've been speaking about, the key factor is adaptation, the way in which we learn to adapt to change. The way in which you know you're alive is that something has changed from one moment to the next. In your awareness, in your focus, in your attention, which gives you basically, in the end, clarity. So we start with, like a camera that is panning. And as the camera is just moving in the continuum, it picks up lots of information until this becomes basically your attention. Something grabs the attention, you stop. Then you zoom in. That is the concentration. Then you focus. Focus, concentration. Once you've done that, you look at the image and then you're aware of what you're looking at. Our mind works in the way a camera does. Our body works with electrical systems. We are like a television as well. Most of all of the new developments in the last 150 years technologically are actually copying natural functions of the body. Yeah. So, what's important about the mind? A signal will automatically activate the behavioral response that was learned when we first experienced it. This is basically a mechanism of recording. It records, the signal becomes basically a record of the experience in your subconscious. What is not in the conscious mind does not exist for you. For example, if you don't have pain or skin problems or whatever, you're not aware of what's going on in your subconscious. And even when we do have pain and skin problems, etc., we often try to just avoid it and go on with our daily life activity. And only when we have time will we go to someone who is some kind of specialist to get it checked. Yeah. So that is the way we normally deal with things. We repress it because we need to get on with daily activities. Daily activities are important. They drive us. Basically, they are all based on survival, fear, and curiosity. These three are programs that all humans have from the subconscious. They are ancient programs. And they are the programs that connect us to our animal self, yeah? Our primordial self. Then, when we go to learn a skill, even if the skill is complex, such as going to high school, going to then an undergraduate, postgraduate, as in the form of a master's or a PhD in specialization, we need to look at what is driving us from our subconscious. Because this is what dictates whether we are able and going to be able to control our primordial instincts as opposed to a higher level of development, which opens up the frontal cortex. Primordial instincts are based mostly in the lower brain, the limbic system that deals with survival and food, shelter, procreation, etc. And then the midbrain does all the organizing and the sorting. It's a sorting center, like a post office, a complex one. So the frontal cortex looks into the future. It's about insight. It's about true sight. Basically, inspiration, trying to learn something beyond survival. Okay? So let's go to the next. Mindfulness is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. It comes from two words, sati, to remember, patana, remember or recollect, is origin, setting forth or initiating. So that's the foundation of the first level of mindfulness. Actually, in Vajrayana Buddhism, there's 4 levels. This is the first level where you just begin to observe what is there without being taken by it. For example, in meditation, the first thing that in my teaching, as I learned it, that we guide people to learn is to think of an open blue sky. In other words, the foundation is an emptiness. So if a cloud enters, instead of being taken by the cloud and saying, oh, there's a cloud, what shape is it? What does it look like? What does it mean? Your thoughts are like clouds, or a bird that enters, or even an insect. And instead of being taken by the bird or the insect to ask what kind of bird, where did it come from? Why is it there? Is it a message, an omen? We learn to observe our thoughts rather than be taken by them. And then the thought catalyzes a feeling. First the thought enters, then you have a feeling about the thought. Do I like it? Do I dislike it? Do you understand? So when we pay attention to and have something enter into our conscious mind, this is what we're talking about. What is not in the conscious mind does not exist. It's stored somewhere. We call it the subconscious. Guess how many stimuli enter into the subconscious mind per second? Have a guess. Any number? 1,000? 10,000? What do you think? We estimate around 20 million per second stimuli. 20 million. Why? Not only because of our different faculties of thought, feeling, senses, and the body electric. Bioresonant frequency is triggering the trillions of cells that are there in your body. So actually 20 million is a small amount, because each cell can communicate with each other through the switches which are around the intermembrane proteins that basically act as a switch between the outside of the cell itself, and the inside. That is how we pick up information. It is not only picking up biochemistry, it's picking up resonance in the form of the wave. So it's bioresonant frequencies. That is how we feel things from a distance. You know, you talk about chemistry between two people. If our distance is further than about 5 meters, you can't pick up their chemistry. You know, like pheromones, because you can't smell. You need to smell the pheromone. So otherwise it's not magically going to enter your body. So there isn't chemistry between people, but there is bioresonant communication, frequencies. And that is how we pick up information about someone who is not in our location, our physical location. They are 100 kilometers away, 1,000, 10,000, or maybe they're past. They're not even in the physical body, but you're still remembering your mother, your father, or somebody that you knew who has passed. They're not in the physical body, they're not in the 3D world anymore. So we need to start to look at the science that we've got that helps us to understand the phenomena that are around us and utilize it in a way that it is serving our understanding. We have to build a new picture, new paradigms. The amount of information that is available today is extraordinary. And there are numerous researchers that are doing fantastic work. The thing is, that's difficult, is the relevance of one piece of information or a group of information to another. In other words, when we look at quantum physics, quantum mechanics, there are many very interesting phenomena that have been observed in a laboratory with inorganic substances. How does that apply to a human being? That is what I have been searching for over the last 30 years in particular. And so that is what this whole thing is about. Mindset. Our mindset is created through the psychological, the neurological, endocrinological, immunological, bioelectric systems in the body. They are the main portals of information receiving, called our conscious mind. So the information resulting from the signals, the interface of the signals between these 5 systems is stored, leading to the formation of coded sequences, patterns and programs. These become the references forming our memory. What is memory otherwise? Please tell me. Where is it stored? We go to school, we sit, we learn, we get inducted by our teachers, and then they test what it is that we've learned through eduction, that is where the word education comes from, means to extract. But where is this information stored? Ever think about that? And then these become references for me. I remember which access through internal and external stimuli. There is memory inside your cells. It is not the genes that hold the information only and decide or designate what you can and cannot do. The gene itself is only information, like information in a library. Can somebody close that door or tell them to be quiet, please? Upstairs, there's activity going on. Can somebody go up and just check that? There's a door. So, our conscious mind uses these references to perceive what is happening inside and outside of us. Cognitive science takes sociology, biology in the form of neuroscience, psychology, artificial intelligence, linguistics in the form of symbols and language that we use, integrates all of this, and I have added 3 other aspects. Ethnology, which looks at your ethnic background, means your value systems based on beliefs. So therefore, your traditions, your customs, your morals, your values, and your ethics. This basically controls your belief system. That's very, very important to understand. So we look at ethnology, then I look at genetics and epigenetics. What activates your genes from inside and outside of the cell. This is very, very critical, because if the gene is not activated, it does not automatically control you. We know this only in the last 20 years of biology. And then I integrate all of this with embryology. What does that mean? From the moment the sperm enters the cell, 2 separate cells become one, it divides and multiplies, divides and multiplies. Yeah? What decides which part of you gets formed first? Your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, your muscles, your tissues. Ever think about that one? Who decides all this? Yeah, we can say it's God or a great creator. There's all sorts of descriptions from a wisdom tradition background. But in science, because we either practice science or we don't. We can't do something in between. And it's very, very important to have clarity about what we're doing. However, the limitation that we have where science is concerned is that 95%, unfortunately, still today, of the science that is being practiced and is influential is based on a mechanistic model and paradigm. The quantum used to represent probably 0.1%. Now it's about 5%. I'm talking about daily practice. The quantum is still very powerful because it's real. It drives our devices. This device has gigabytes, and in some of them, terabytes of information. That information, if we look at it from a normal mechanistic perspective, we would need buildings, or maybe even the size of Kathmandu to store that information nowadays, in the way it used to be with valves. But everything has been reduced to small, tiny cards, a square centimeter holding hundreds of gigabytes of information. How is that possible? How was that achieved? I don't get into the mechanics, but I can tell you what they've done is layer electrons in such a manner where it is possible, first, not only to store information, but to have an interface of information on a quantum level so that there is an intelligent communication going on, just like what happens in your cells. Next, please. So mind health, as I said earlier, is our collective awareness. It's easy to slip because your mind can go into a miscalculation of how deep it is, and you can fall and hurt yourself. You understand? The external environment is critical for us to understand how to relate to it. We take so much for granted, we've lost our ability to communicate. And as I was sharing with Dr. Jacob, the majority of education that takes place in all the world today started from the Roman education system. It took the 3 basics of induction, which means imprinting, eduction, which means extracting the information, testing how much the person has learned before we give them more information. You can't go to the next step until you learn the previous step. That's important, yeah? And the last step was called deduction, creating a space for the person to work out for themselves what the meaning of the experience was. It has to have some meaning. Otherwise, it's empty information, which is why every single student, when they graduate, especially in postgraduate, but undergraduate, when they go to work, first off, they've forgotten 90% of what they learned leading up to the exams. And once they get their qualification and they're in the workforce, maybe 5% of what they learn is useful. The rest is now I have to learn something completely new. Do you understand? So relevance plays a huge role in what you learn. So we have, somebody asked me, what is the difference between information and knowledge? Was that one of the questions? Information and knowledge? It came to me. Information is water going into the glass. You understand? Water, this is information. That's the content. The glass becomes the context. I can either cover it, and it's a closed system, like a book, on a shelf, in a library, that I don't see, I don't go to unless and until I need it, just like a file in a computer. Or it's an open system, where it is basically interfacing with gravity, and also the molecules are actually active, and they will start to dissolve because of activation by the temperature and the electrical activation in the environment you keep it in. Yeah? Information is content. Once the content has a context, it becomes knowledge. That means you know what to use it for, and you've understood its meaning. But knowing is the third stage, and every single spiritual practice is based on knowing. Knowing does not happen just in your conscious mind. Your whole body becomes aware. We call it learning from the cellular, consciousness and memory. This is the way in which, and I've been to Basundhara, where they studied. I have a friend that I've known for many years, from 96, who's the head of Buddhism in Mongolia. He's a Lama. He has got a medical university where they study traditional Mongolian medicine, but they study it in a traditional way that the Tibetans teach medicine, which means you are repeating all of the formulae like a mantra. So it goes into your subconscious. You bring the subconscious into the conscious, and you take the conscious into the subconscious. So there's a loop. The problem we have is we don't know how to communicate with our bodies. We've become educated. Why? Induction is there. The Romans took that because it's normal. That's imprinting. Eduction is there because we have to extract the information. That's normal. The last step of deduction was replaced by reductionism. Reduction means I reduce your journey and experience down to a desired outcome, which means I don't care what your experience is, or your opinion, or what your inner development is. You must learn this information to be able to perform this task in order to be able to perform this role. Get your qualifications, go out and become a good citizen in society. This is reductionism. It's about conformity. Then on the back of that, they added two other fantastic things. One is called classification. Put everything into a box that has a label. Classify. What does that do? It leads to fragmentation, where even your left brain doesn't understand your right brain anymore. And the third step, what is the purpose of the fragmentation? First is control. Conformity for control. Second step is about separating, putting everything into boxes. Now, our conscious mind does that. It's part of the function of the identity. The identity filters information that's coming into the conscious mind. It then puts it in some order, into a box, and then it puts a label on it. It's nice and neat and tidy. It's organized. Organization is natural. Who's heard of self-organization? Albert St. Hungarian scientist, won a Nobel Prize because he understood that water self-organizes. Are you aware of this? It is imperative to understand this as a principle in nature. Self-organization happens in us too. Our conscious mind is trying to organize, to help it. Otherwise, everything is scattered and you have a chaotic mind. Do you follow? So chaos is not normal. Everything comes, or basically goes from the state of randomness into order. Why? That is how we have structures. And those structures become subatomic particles, which then become atomic particles, which then become molecules, which then become structures. Make some sense? It's really basic. In Rashmi theory of Vedanta, the Rig Veda, it speaks of 5 levels beyond what you can see. 5. There is the Akasha, where everything is fundamentally existing. Greeks called it ether. In Latin, it's spatio, space. So that's where it exists. Then manas, the next level, where things are recorded. So there's organization. Then we go to ahankara, which is another level of, it's an interface. Because after ahankara comes the mahat. That is just after the first level, literally primordial creation. And the last one is prakrti, where there is no form. There's no energy. There is just pure consciousness. Now that's been there, written for at least 4,000 years, ladies and gentlemen, in Rig Veda. And only now, recently, I met a man who has been recognized in India as the first person to decode these codes written in the Rig Veda, in the Arsh, it's called. And that is the whole foundation of the principle of the Rashmi theory, the theory that everything is a wave. Guess what? In quantum physics, we say everything is a wave. And when the wave collapses, it forms a particle that you can somehow use some device or your naked eye to observe as a phenomenon. In Greek, it means that which is visible. I can see it. It manifests and expresses itself. Suddenly, quantum language starts to sound like spiritual explanations of reality. And only recently, there is an institute in Los Angeles. The gravitational fields gravity is being researched. And actually, I believe there's someone here who's doing gravitational wave research. Why? Because it is the influence, the binding. It's a universal force. It's a binding force that brings things together. So basically, what does that mean? Out of expansion and randomness, things start to organize themselves. Suddenly, the science of quantum reality is beginning to sound very similar to Vedic science. This is important to understand. We are in a unique time in history where we have the mechanisms, the hardware, the devices, and through software, which basically can bring together huge terabytes, petabytes of information in almost an instant, such a short period of time. Conscious mind of a human being, impossible to achieve this. The only way you can achieve it is through lifetimes of work where you dissolve all of the veils, all of the blockages, all of the filters, which act to do nothing but protect you. That's why we have to decide, do I want to keep functioning from my primordial instinct, survival, fear, and curiosity? Or do I want to upgrade my system and start to look at developing, go from survival into learning to open the space and receive guidance from a higher level in my conscious mind? You can't do it by yourself, so we need guidance from those who have achieved it. So I'm looking at how science is already beginning to enter into this world. I can explain the details very, very easily, but it's not the content here for this particular talk. So, again, mind health looks at how your thoughts and feelings impact your physical body and how your body processes impact your psychomental and emotional condition. If you have something that is present in your conscious mind, in your physical body, for more than 6 weeks, and your body has not found a way to balance it, it means it is now a chronic disorder. You understand? Chronic disorders cause problems on multiple levels. But our conscious mind is very busy, as I said, with getting on with things. That's a survival. It doesn't have to be on the low level. Getting your reports done, making sure students learn, making sure you have money to pay for your mortgages and your bills, making sure you have money to pay for your kids, your children's course fees, and so forth and so on. All of these are important things that we think about. And we usually utilize that to overpower what is happening in our physical body. And that's when the chronic aspect of it is that it becomes a loop. The more you repress a condition, the more powerful the condition gets. Yeah? And the more negative will be the result. Now, the difference between mental health versus mind. Mental health looks at symptoms. The symptoms are the signals, and they help us to understand the disorder or the condition. It looks at management, behavioral management. All we end up doing typically when we're in a mental health situation is the behavioral modification, but we have not gone to the cause. Then it looks at compartmentalizing, putting it into boxes, and your subconscious and conscious interface is saying, fix me because something's not right, something's broken. Okay? This is the typical mental health model. Mind health looks at the impact of thoughts and feelings on the physical body through the three brain connection. Brain in your head, brain in your heart, brain in your gut. Are you aware that we have nerve complexes? When I was talking about this 30 years ago, people thought I was mad. And now today, everyone's talking about two brains at very least. Not many people have heard the three. The heart is not that popular. The brain in the gut is more popular because it controls the digestive system, the immune system, and we have become that much more aware of the significance of overall health because the gut is very, very much involved in nutrition absorption and many other processes. The heart is a lot simpler. Heart rate variability is the connection between brain and heart. So, you can see all of this connection here, next. And as we progress, we're also aware of the five bodies. Now, of course, this is based on a wisdom tradition perspective, where we have thoughts in the mental body, feelings in our vital body. Now, you've all heard of prana. In traditional Chinese medicine, I've studied 8 forms, but 6 properly, of traditional medicines. Yeah, Vedanta and the Tibetan, Mongolian, the Unani medical system, which is based on the classical Greek system, the Jamu from Indonesia, which is similar to Chinese, but it's based fundamentally on also animism, like Bon tradition in Tibet. And within all of them, they have some kind of cosmology at their foundation. It's not a common science. They have different ways of looking at things. And in the different ways, we begin to understand that this vital body is actually in your kidneys. It has to do with your adrenal cortex. So in traditional Chinese medicine, everything starts in the kidneys. Why? If you don't have the vitality, that means enough energy to feel that you can actually just keep focused and clear and cope, you don't and will not be able to establish the qi. Here in the kidneys is called jing. Qi is different. This is organization capacity. It's in the gonads, in the sexual organs. Basically what it does is it picks up undifferentiated energy from the earth and it enters into your body. And then literally, that's why it's called sexual energy, it differentiates as positive, negative. Yin, yang, feminine, masculine. That happens here in the gut. Interesting. From here, we go into Shen, which is in the heart. That has to do with inspiration. From there, we have Wu Wei, which is basically through quietness and stillness and a state of neutrality, we are able to see what is present without criticism and judgment. And only then can we open up this chakra at the crown that basically opens us to the transpersonal. This is Wu Ji. That is the unification principle. So you might notice lots of people want to go straight from their heart to the crown and escape and become one with God. Now there's a little problem there because you have not prepared yourself for that. Willpower alone does not do it, unfortunately. Willingness, willpower, wishing, hoping. It requires steps, just like a building. If you want to build a 20-story building, you have to go down deep enough. If you want to build a 2-story building, you don't need to go so deep. So in that particular life, if you really want to activate and develop your awareness on all those levels, you have to dig deep. That means look at all aspects of your subconscious that are blocking you from achieving the higher levels. Does it make some sense? So next, we look at the senses in the physical body, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and seeing. They are also other portals, different types of portals of information. The way we take light through the eyes, sound through the ear, smell, they are particles that we pick up when we smell and taste. Those particles then get transferred onto the tongue, which has the 5 different tastes. They help you to understand what actual chemistry is entering the body. The bitter, the salty, the sweet, the sour, pungent. And then we have, actually this is, intuition is different because everybody confuses instinct with intuition. Instinct is what I said before. Those 3 aspects of survival, fear, and curiosity. If you want to develop intuition, you have to guide yourself from that part of you which is not critical, not judgmental, and listen to the guru. Out of darkness into light. Dispeller of darkness, guru. You are the guru. The guru is inside you. You are not the guru yet. You have to awaken your guru from inside you. What is that? That's the knowledge that your cells have that take care of you 24/7. Making sense? And we say, here I think, here I feel, here I know. How do I establish knowingness? Through quietness and stillness. Not busyness of thought, monkey mind, agitation of feeling, uneasiness, restlessness. And I get fearful, I get angry, I get sad, I am happy. Stabilize all of this here. It's an anchor. This is like the air. Molecules of gas everywhere, high speed, thousands of them. They are the thoughts that enter into your mind. This is like a stream. Those molecules come closer and become liquid. And it's a stream, just like in a river, the feelings. But this is a mountain quality. Quiet, still, like Mount Everest, standing tall, and has no need of anything from anyone, anywhere. Because it exists as a function of its presence. It's very simple. In Zen, because I started with Zen, and then I moved on to other forms of meditation, we talk of mountain quality. And that is down here, the Japanese call it the hara. Mind, heart, H-A-R-A, hara. Hara. This is a dantian, or a center, a sea of energy. In Greek, it's the omphalic center. Here, it's the pranic center. Everyone talks of the significance here, because there's so much life going on down here. So finally, the causal body is consciousness, and the energy interconnecting all of these is energy in motion is your emotion. To emote, to set into action, to mobilize, to make things interconnect. So the emotion, when someone's saying you're being emotional, in the West, emotion means feelings. Meditation means contemplating. Consciousness means you're not knocked out. So mind means intellect. They've simplified things in such a way that they don't have the same meaning of what they actually are. That's very important to understand and appreciate. Next, please. So, for the first time, let's just do the other ones as well. Here's your sense of self. Your conscious mind has a sense of self through a physical interface. If you are not in your body, how can you sense yourself? So there is your physical self. This is your conscious mind. The subconscious mind is a database of emotionless programs reading environmental signals that engage in hardwired behavioral patterns. That is all it is. It's a library. It's not until any one of those, and that's what I was going to say. How many stimuli are we picking up per second? 20 million. How many of those get registered in the conscious mind? Registered. 4-0. A ratio of 1 to 500,000. That is how intelligent your conscious mind is. Meaning, first and foremost, it's very efficient and effective at filtering information. If you take a substance like LSD, it suddenly opens up all those filters and you get huge amounts of information. It becomes a tsunami. It becomes information overload. These things activate that program of information overload. They take the filters away. They put lots of information per second around you through the frequencies, and also every single time you hear a beep, it means somebody has contacted you and your focus goes here. Don't worry, you don't need to be concerned about any kind of addiction to alcohol, drugs, smoking, gambling, sex, or shopping. If you own one of these, pay attention to how many times a day you look at it. And what will happen when you switch it off? Especially when the battery dies. Already you start getting very agitated and uneasy. Young kids, 10 times more, because they've grown up with this. Everyone here is at least 13 years of age. So you can remember a time when these smartphones weren't around. But the little ones, and I've seen 18-month-old babies, 2-year-old babies, the parents give them the phone because the parents want some free time, so they entertain the child. What the parent doesn't understand is they're programming their own child to be addicted. By the time they're 4 or 5, they can't live without this. They interface with their external reality through this, which is virtual. Do you understand? It is physically virtual. I will explain a few other things in time about what all this is as well, why it's called Maya. So, all interpretations occur in the conscious mind's perception of the meaning of the signals that you receive from an external or an internal source, right? For example, pain, pleasure, whatever. These are signals that are coming into the conscious mind. Here's the key point. Here, sense of self, we know this, that's there in Jungian psychology. And the subconscious and the unconscious and the collective is present. All of this is based on psychological models that we have had for about 100 years. Now, notice this here, the observer. That is not spoken about in the same way. There is the alter ego that I won't call him a teacher of Jung, but they collaborated and they learned from each other. Freud spoke about the ego and the alter ego. The id is the inner child, the subconscious part, and the ego is your conscious mind, the alter ego is observing. However, the observer here is still critical and judgmental. There is not neutral. Unless we learn how to be neutral, you cannot move forward to a higher state of consciousness, to the next level, beyond being stuck at survival. Fear, survival, curiosity. Make some sense? Why? Being critical and judgmental is the result of insecurity. An insecurity that we pass on to our children. We call it testing them. That's all part of the education process. I've given you all the information, now I need to test you. And if you get it wrong, you say, wrong! I've just criticized. The tone of voice alone, but the rejection for getting it wrong. And the child, I got it wrong. I'm stupid. Do you know, children are very sensitive, especially the babies. And their field picks up information that you don't. As you get older, you desensitize. It's called growing up and becoming an adult. By desensitizing ourselves. So all of these deformations that occur in your mental and feeling and physical body are there in your memory body. Do you understand? In Tibetan Buddhism, they speak about the pain body that you remember, life after life. Well, I don't like using that term because you remember more than pain. There's pleasure, there's joy, there's sadness, there's a lot, but they just give a generic name. I call it the memory body. So your soul is your individual personal akasha. Means how many lives you, or journeys you've had. Each physical life here in 3D world is a journey. And so the soul represents a part of your spirit, which is basically the uncorrupted files of when you were first created as part of the ahankara, or the universal memory. Because that's what you have collectively. Your cells in the genes physically have inherited that memory through genes, physical manifestation. So that is the biological parent that we recognize. Then we have a level of representation. So if your parents aren't successful as a mother, father, not very good, you subconsciously search for someone who is a better father, mother, representative. Not biological, just representative. And they become your second father or mother because they're a good role model. They are the person you wish your father and mother could have been, but were not. That is karmic. That is a choice of the situation. It's the luck of the draw, as they say. Like a roulette. You don't know where the ball is going to fall. The third level of the parent, understanding of what the parent is the essential parent. That is your inner masculine and feminine. These are dynamics. We have positive and negative throughout ions in the body, throughout the body, which basically act as the carriers of information and energy. Do you understand? It's critical to see how all this breaks down. We've got lots of different models through the wisdom traditions, but one fundamental model in science. That model is about having some idea, formulating a way, so your hypothesis, a way to test it, which is the experiment. You do the experiments, not one, but at least 10, 20, 30. See how repeatable it is, what kind of results we get, what can we measure. We extract from the measurement data that have some meaning, otherwise they are random and we don't really understand much at all from the randomness. Once we've done that, we formulate a postulation, which is, we get the results and we have a conclusion. Not yet even a theory, let alone a law. And we're still at that level. There's still a lot of postulations and hypotheses going on where humans are concerned in terms of what is a human being. So, looking at this, next please. Oh, sorry, before you do that. Okay. Now, the top part of all of this is exactly what wisdom traditions look at. You can understand. Higher self, the supramental, the superconscious, and the collective superconscious. This language is not there in conventional psychology or psychiatry. Suddenly, two worlds are meeting. Here's the significance, really significant. All of this down here is about the personal. So when you go to a psychologist, they deal with your personal from their personal. The personal is observed and dealt with from the personal. All they do is act as a mirror for you. All of this stuff up here, you notice, it's non-personal, not impersonal. It means no criticism, no judgment, and no rejection. Hold the space to allow what is there to be there so it can manifest and express itself to reveal its true nature to you. Not you go out and start exploring based on a set of ideas that you already have decided are the facts, and you impose your ideas. That is not science. If we use science to prove a hypothesis or an idea, it's not science. Not the way we understand it. Like Einstein said, 1,000 experiments can prove me right, but it only takes one to prove me wrong. And then what? We start all over again, back to the drawing board. Yeah? And that's just talking about what's here on this horizontal 3D level. The moment we look deeper or greater out into space, those same rules don't apply anymore. Suddenly, the world gets strange, unusual, or spooky. Spooky science. Yeah? So let's go. Next. And perception is defined as the awareness of elements of physical environment. Your intermembrane proteins will translate electrical activity into signals. Electrical activity that you pick up in your body in the form of ionic action. 3 ions in it. Positive ions, negative ions in the physical body. Yeah. And they get triggered by waves outside. Everything is a wave. When it collapses, it's a particle. We're picking up signals constantly through these hundreds of thousands of receptor-effector switches. One receives the signal and then it transmits it and becomes an effector signal from outside of the cell to inside the cell. Otherwise, we can't let everything come in and everything go out. You'll get polluted and toxified instantly, or you basically start receiving nutrients that you may not need. The molecular structure isn't right. The electrical activity isn't right. They're not vibrating at the right frequency. So, next. What I'm talking about is emotional maturity. You've all heard of the IQ, the intelligence quota, which tests your intelligence. Now, over the last, say, mostly 10 to 15 years, it's become popular to look at emotional quota, the EQ. The issue there, though, is it's still personal. Remember the triangle? It's still all within the personal. So how do we deal with the personal spiritual practices? When you go to your guru and you say, Guruji, I have a problem, I don't have enough money, my girlfriend just left me, my child's not listening. They're not interested. They will say, just do more of these mantras, do this meditation, do this breathing. Correct? They're not the social worker. They're not your psychologist. It's a non-personal issue. Why should they get involved? Yeah. So we have two worlds. One has been existing for thousands of years, written, recorded, and received tens of thousands of examples in the form of saints, enlightened beings, highly evolved beings, many of whom act as inspiration, inspirers for us. Correct? However, we have this duality where there's the personal being dealt with by the personal. And so a lot of people, especially from the West, come to the East and try to find, first off, a replacement father or mother in the form of a guru and a teacher. So they're projecting mother, father onto this person. And if they make one tiny mistake, it's bad mom, bad dad. Criticism and judgment immediately. Rule number one about spirituality. It does not happen on your terms. You have to leave all your personal stuff outside of the ashram, outside of seeing the teacher, outside of the practice. It means you have to be emotionally mature before you even start the practice. What is that? It is here, the difference between reaction and response is that you connect with your memory in order to develop choice, and then you can make decisions. This is a huge difference. Emotional maturity means you are not critical, not judgmental. Neutrality does not mean I take myself away from the situation. I am disengaged and I'm cold and distant and not involved. On the contrary, it means just like, a gear stick in a car, you're in the neutral. So you can choose whether you need to go to first, third, reverse, whatever. It means being ready at the moment, being in the moment is what maturity, emotional maturity. Because emotion is what I said before, the energy that moves between your 5 bodies. Ever heard that before? Ever seen that model before? No. Now the thing about wisdom traditions themselves, they have very deep answers. But it depends on the readiness of the person. If you've started here at kindergarten and you go to wisdom tradition, that's already PhD level, guys. Wake up. So you come in with a kindergarten mind. Doesn't matter that you're in an old body. Everybody grows old and everybody will die. But very few people grow up. So we're taking everything we didn't receive, are not satisfied with, the emptiness, and that's what American marketing is genius at. Always they say, find the pain and press it. That's how they sell you something you don't need. You don't have to be sold food when you go to the supermarket. You don't have someone come to you and say, hello sir, we've got wonderful apples freshly come in and green beans, etc. Nobody needs to tell you that. You just know you need apples, green beans, spinach and whatever. You might ask, where are they? And then you check to see the price, but nobody has to sell you food. It's basic. When you go into a clothes store, it's up to you. Somebody can sell you a new fashion, a new color, a new cut, a new shape. Selling you something you don't need requires appealing to the part of you that feels empty. That emptiness comes from when you were a child, when you did receive the recognition, the acknowledgement. You were not heard because you're little and your language is different. Are you aware? 0 to 2 years of age, your brain is functioning at 0.5 to 4 hertz. The baby is mostly in an unconscious state, accessing its subconscious. Looks like sleeping. Actually, it's in and out of conscious awareness and back in the stream. This stream is basically the wave part of your daily life activity. Then 2 to 6 years of age, 4 to 8 hertz vibrational frequency. This is programmable states like being in a hypnotic state. So you learn very quickly. So they say children at that age are like sponges. They receive very quickly. But it's the beginning of the ego establishing itself. In the beginning, the child is learning words. You say, what is that? It's chair, table, door. Past the age of 2, it says, my chair, my table, my door. This is the beginning of the establishment of the sense of self in the form of ego, in the form of identity. We, as parents, need to understand that process and guide the process. But nobody taught us, nobody taught our grandparents, nobody taught our great-grandparents. Even in wisdom traditions, what they do is they induce, through what's called transmission into the cells, the information. So it bypasses the conscious mind, because the conscious mind will do what? Separate everything. Put what enters as a piece of information, a stimuli, into a box and label it. Yeah? Because you like to have order. Otherwise, when you see a child is random all the time with lots of energy, what do we call that child? Attention deficiency disorder, an ADHD. We want everybody to sit down, kids, children, who are full of energy and life force, to sit down, be quiet, and listen to us, because I'm the teacher. Teacher, what does it mean? I am the authority. This is teacher-centered teaching. All the students are already there, teacher comes in. This is Aristotelian, Aristotle. Hello, students, how are you today? Yes, sir, we are good. Yes. Sir, today we are going to study the sun. Yes, sir. How big is the sun? How far is it from planet Earth? What makes up the sun? What is its phenomenon? This is teacher-centered teaching. And what is the problem with that? The weakness with it is that, as I've said before to many people, we have 3 gods. Parents first. They literally are your gods. You came through them into the physical world. Then come teachers. And then we have our doctor. As we grow up, start learning to do things for ourselves, and as we grow more responsible, hopefully, we take care of our parents. They become the children. So that changes. Teacher, you have different teachers, obviously, for different levels of development. You can't teach as kindergarten. Teacher cannot teach PhD. Because they're not trained to, they don't need to. So different teachers. However, our doctor is there for life. And we need to understand the importance of that. The doctor actually means one who knows. So he's just a disseminator of knowledge. They are not therapists. That's why they're specialists. Therapy is about techniques and skills. And a surgeon is a therapist. He has techniques and skills. And the third level is the healer. And the healer is where the transmission of energy takes place. That energy which actually activates your own healing ability. So we can either force it through pharmaceuticals or any other type of intervention, or we can tune into the person, see where they are in their life state. Some people will kill you if you make them well, because they need their disease. It gets them a lot of attention, and they manipulate and exploit with their disease. I know many like this. I have been a traumatologist for 43 years, dealing with breaks, contusions, dislocations, bringing people back. This rehabilitation is my specialty. After sports accidents, car accidents, strokes, whatever, and I've been mental health for 33 years. I grew up with the psychology, because my sister, 10 years old, was a leading psychologist in Australia, And I've learned that there are many more layers of the psychology when I brought what I showed you. The guidance of the personal from the non-personal makes a big difference, because the non-personal doesn't get involved in all of the stories that people create in their mind, or the attachments, or the fears. If I am not neutral, how can I actually help you? You're in a pit, I'm walking on the path, and I hear, help, help. Okay, I stop to say, hi, are you okay down there? No, do I look okay? Are you mad? Well, what's wrong? I'm suffering. Okay, so what can I do to help? Can I pull you out? No, I don't trust you to pull me out. You've got to come down here in the pit and show me that you understand my suffering before I trust you to even help me, even let you help me to get out. And this is exactly how we manipulate and exploit. Because our inner child looks at mum and dad. Mum and dad they do not understand us. They don't understand the 2-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 6 to 12-year-old brain. They especially don't understand the 12 to 18-year-old. This is really important. Yeah? Because that's when individuation happens and all the hormones kick in. You go from boy or girl to man and woman, and you try to be your own self. One example which we're going to show you today is low-level light therapy wearables, things you can wear at certain frequencies in nanometers that are pulsed, not constant all the time. The pulsing makes a very big difference, and it deals with pain, with injuries, and with also stimulating the brain. You will see this. The clinical effects are here. This is photobiomodulation, PBM, being used extensively in the United States of America in many clinics as we speak. And there are different, go back one. No, the next one. Yes, where you can see angiogenesis and the neovascularization, collagen production, muscle regeneration, and muscular atrophy. This is all in my field of dealing with injuries. And it shows you exactly how it all works. Light is doing this. Today, I was sat at my dear friend Rajendra's place upstairs, right at the top of his house, is like a sun area. And we don't have this quality of sun in London, in the UK. And I could feel the infrared activating, and my whole body felt about 3 times better than it has felt for at least a year in London. Because in London, you've also got a lot of cold air. So it slows everything down in the body. So radiation, infrared, is very, very important. So next, this is photo, and then that was photobiomodulation, means using light to modulate the biology in the body. Okay, and here, brainwave entrainment. We've got that device here. We're going to demonstrate it. We're going to have a tiny little break when I finish, or question and answer, whoever needs to go, either toilet or whatever. Then I'm going to get people to come up in pairs to show you how your thoughts and feelings impact your physical body. Yeah? Now, this, we've got scans, normal person, after 15 minutes and 25 minutes of the usage of stimulation of the brain through the middle ear and the eyes, and then you're also hearing isochronic tones, sounds, which balance out the left, right brain hemisphere activity. Let's go next. Next. These are just examples. Now we go back to the model one. Here, the complementary alternative and the traditional, yeah, they're based on wisdom traditions, and allopathy is based on science. So this is an ICIP, an integrated computerized information platform. The key factor is we are gathering information from all these different approaches. Don't look at it like another system that you have to believe in. It works, it's been around long enough. They all give us different types of information. So the gathering of the information is the important part. If these systems exist, why, and this is the biggest problem, the reason why allopathy is so successful is because everybody in that world is A, based on science, that is definitely the new religion now, and Google is the new God. As soon as you want to know something, you Google it and you get answers in seconds. And it tells you how many answers in how many seconds. Very proud. Yeah? And the second thing that's key is that all the different departments and the different sciences at the foundation of medicine agreed to work with it. Nobody is trying to prove to the other one, I know more than you. A psychiatrist does not come in and say, psychiatry is better than surgery. He says, when I need surgery, I go to the surgeon. If I need a psychiatrist, I'll come to you. It's all based on specialization. Are you with me? Whereas the different systems, definitely, I have seen this happen, that Ayurveda is the best in the world, it can cure everything. The Chinese says, Chinese medicine is best, it can cure everything. Everyone says it can cure everything. And so that attitude creates another disbalance among the systems themselves. So we need to find a way, a platform, where we can all agree to disagree and happily start co-working. Because the systems are all there, and they play their role. Allopathy fundamentally, as I said here, this principle, the integrated computerized information platform, does not have to be realized within particular diagnostic therapeutic devices or techniques. You can use any of them. It doesn't matter. What's important is that we keep the balance between the four main directions. Science is the foundation of classical medicine, and it works in union with Canon, which is the traditional medicine, etc., to support, and according to the wisdom traditions, we are adequate enough to have this on a national level, international level. It's not just within selected groups of people who believe in it. In India, they've got Ayush. That's a similar concept. The Ayurveda, the Yoga, the Unani, the Siddha medical systems, and finally, the homeopathy. All sit at the same level. I don't know if you have that in Nepal, if you have Ayush, as allopathy. So allopathy is not supreme over Ayush. So that is a level. People ask me, why are you going to India to do medicine? I say, because they've got Ayush. So they've already started on the right track in terms of looking at the validity and the quality and the value of the system. So let's go now. Our vision, oracy. Oracy means vision in Greek, in ancient Greek. What is our vision? Mind health becomes a new international standard for health and self-development. Remembering that mind is your collective awareness. It's not your intellect. Therefore, it's a new fitness model. Instead of a workout where you go to the gym and you do everything physically, you observe your body, you look at the mirror, a personal trainer comes and tells you to exercise. I take the principles of meditation, visualization, breathing, stretching, strengthening, and chi development, life force development, prana. This is a work in, and I've scientifically proved it. Colleagues of mine have worn a ring that basically picks up signals, electrical signals, and it indicates blood pressure, heart rate variability, and calorific intake. And they have done my exercises with me, only 20 minutes, 10 minutes of which are active, 10 minutes are passive. And it shows at the end of the day that the time of the day where there is most coherence and burning of calories is during that time, exactly when they do the training with me. Because when you are coherent, your body will burn more calories because it's aligned and you're communicating with yourself. So then we look here. It can develop this model, attention span, concentration, clarity, leading to more success and longevity. Finally, it is efficient and effective in health, wealth, direction, relationships, and love. Love is not your personal wanting of something, your desire. Absolutely not. That's human stuff. That's personal stuff. That's limited. Does God love like that? Don't think so. Not at all. It is unconditional acceptance of a situation, a circumstance, a person, as they are. That's, in Buddhism, we say we have to develop that quality of compassion. See the person suffering. What is causing the suffering? It is their ignorance of everything I've been sharing with you. They don't know what they really are. They don't know where they come from. They don't know why they're here. This is really important to understand. That is critical. So, we go to the next, please. So we've improved technology and the know-how. So we've got the tech. We're working on an interface for your purposes. I'm working on a health profile. Doctors' reports are 95% written in medical language, correct? Yeah. 99% of the population doesn't understand. So what is the good of that report? You need another doctor to explain what it means. So I'm looking at a profile that helps you to see and understand your mental, your emotional, your physical, your energy levels in your language. It'll be downloaded in an app. Got it for yourself. And its purpose is that it acts to inform, to guide, and to expand the mind of the person. In what direction? To get to know yourself. Because I come from a Greek background, an ancient Greek background to be exact, because all of my ancestors come from the Black Sea. My ancestors are Ionians. The Hindus call them Yavan. And when Alexander the Great came to India, at the north part, a big group of my people stayed in India and they established an empire called Yavana Raja, his kingdom. Yes? And so, for the first time in history, and only in that time, there were ancient Greeks from the Black Sea, the Bactrians, who had their 12 gods and their language and their theories, fusing together with Hindu gods and Sanskrit language, and also Buddhist language, Pali language. Interesting, yeah? So 400 years. From that region, they took Buddhism to China and then went to Tibet in the 8th century. This is 2 centuries BC, before the Common Era. 1 million square kilometers where Punjab is today. So there was something that happened. The fusion of great minds came together. Great civilizations, not just cultures. There's a difference. Culture is everywhere. Even in your family, it's your family culture. But civilization is different. Where we have an alignment from animals all the way to God. That's a very, very important thing to understand. So we go, please, next. Mental health problem worldwide, 50% of the UK population is a registered mental health patient at the moment. So I'm just sharing some statistics to see how relevant this is. Next. The cost, economic cost, 19 to 20 was 120 billion pounds. Yeah? The Royal College of Psychiatrists only were looking at adding 2.4 billion to solve a problem which has cost them 120 billion. It shows you how important it was for them. They're not that interested. They need you to be sick because allopathic medicine, unfortunately, in its construct, is an illness-based system. If you're not well, you don't go to the doctor, do you? So, it's not a preventative system. It's not a holistic system. It's not about you getting to know you so that you know how to take care of yourself. Make some sense? Next. So, this is how many million people, nearly 83 million in the EU. This is their budget. Every year, 600 billion euros, every year in the EU, being spent on mental health. Just mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, interesting. Yeah? As a scientist, all I can do is present facts. What they mean is up to us. I'm not here to convince you or play placebo games. Not needed. Just look at the facts. It's just that most people are not aware of this information. Let's go next. And so, what we have in the mental health situation you're in the USA, how much money was spent. In 2019, around 11% of US adults reported experiencing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And that escalated to 42% by December 2020. In 1 year, it went up 300%. Now, if we're going to look outside of us in terms of what is a problem, that's why I started focusing on this. I was actually working on formulations for COVID. When I started seeing these statistics, I thought, wow, COVID's going to finish in 18 months to 2 years. This is not. This is going to get worse. Worldwide, mental health has increased by 40%. Patients, registered mental health patients, globally. Next, please. So, we have nearly 1 billion people worldwide have mental health disorder. That was, according to a statistic that's about 3 years old. I know it's more than that now. Anxiety is the most common mental illness in the world, affecting nearly 300 million people. Anxiety, just anxiety, before it gets into depression. Starting point is stress. We all have stress. Anxiety. So, and the rest of the statistics are all here, that it is estimated mental health, mental disorders are attributed to 14.3% of deaths worldwide, approximately 8 million. Deaths, not just a condition you can't manage, deaths. Now, is that not more than COVID? So why are we not paying attention to it? Do you follow the book? Statistics, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't make it up. All of this stuff we've got all the evidence for. Next. So here's my advisory team. He's my partner, and we co-work together. We're developing new devices and new methodologies. Dr. Francisco, he's Brazilian, he's American, he's the founder of the device we're going to show you, PhD in that research, and he is my friend, student, and like my second son, Russian, very clever. He's the managing director of the device, which is assessment-based device. We'll explain all that later. Next. So the RSC Mind Health is an integrative health. We combine two texts at level 1. This is just level 1. It's introductory level so that anybody can understand it. And that basically is the bioelectric assessment of the effects of emotions and thoughts on the hormonal activity and the nervous system, and the audiovisual therapy. So personalized set of binaural beats guided by visualization, 10-cycle holographic music, isochronic tones to provide relaxation, energy, recharge, better mood, and higher productivity. Yeah, so we'll be introducing that in a few minutes. Next. Go back. It's really important. Psychometrics is a field of study concerned with the theory and technique of psychological measurement. Normally, what do? They use questionnaires and tests. Right? The researchers focus on construction and validation of assessment instruments like these: psychological symptom scales, personality tests. Right? The field is concerned with objective measurement of skills and knowledge, abilities, attitudes, personality traits, clinical constructs, and mental disorders, as well as educational achievement. So we are using psychometrics on a completely new scale. We combine powerful technologies of 40 years of experience to show this. I am now dealing with psycho, next one. We look at mental markers, focus, attention, concentration, awareness, and clarity, as I mentioned earlier. And how does our solution work? RSC Mind Health Solution addresses psychophysical metrics, the impact of thoughts and feelings on the physiology. So suddenly, it's tangible and visible. Because if you're clever, you can cheat in those psychometric tests, and a lot of people do. Here, I promise you can't cheat anything. Very good. Over 10,000 trials in the last 25 years. It's very accurate. Now, it focuses on the brain-body connection, allowing us to improve inner awareness, communication performance in daily life. Key factor here. We address the impact that the mental and emotional state of the person has on their physical body and overall health through the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, hormonal nervous system connection. Yeah, this is a physical, tangible, readable, measurable, repeatable reality that we know. Hypothalamus, who's heard of the HPA? Hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. You ever heard of it? It's very, very important. It's there in biology, and it shows how the brain is connecting with the pituitary gland, and it's linked directly to your adrenal cortex. It means you are constantly aware externally of things that are happening, right? And your body interprets those things as potential threat. Your conscious mind may not see it that way, it may not make sense in that context, but that's how your body is experiencing. Let's go. So, opportunity and competition. This is objective. Can we do one back? This is objective, it's accurate, it's the mental health market for it, and we're getting traction by utilizing it in our clinic and rolling it out to 5 different market areas. HR departments of corporates, schools for students in pre-examination stress measurements, fitness centers for how to help people to become more aware and work with their body and not force their body to work in, not to work out. Medical doctors, scientists, researchers, and other therapists to improve their understanding of the impact of thoughts and feelings on the physiology. Yeah. And also, let's go to the next. Features of the system: conventional physical or medical checkups cannot detect a person's mental or emotional state. Correct? Conventional checkups, when we're looking at blood pressure, heart rate variability, all the blood hemoglobin and counts of the chemical analysis of the body, is not able to talk about your psychomental emotional condition, right? The combination of the data and information from our different technologies enables us to gather and compile rapid, accurate snapshot of a person's condition. We can see where you are. It means it's an in-depth insight to a person's current health and life state, indicating what needs to be addressed immediately instead of waiting weeks or months before the symptom appears on the physical levels. Because it's showing what's going on between the nervous system and the hormonal system. That means your subconscious and conscious mind. Make some sense? Is an opportunity to actually check how well you're connecting with your subconscious mind and how well you're listening to it and what you're doing about it. Are you responding? Why are you reacting? Why are you ignoring? Which makes it much worse. Next. So, we look at corporate partnerships. We said exactly the different areas. We partner with various businesses. There are unique opportunities for assessment of staff in the HR departments. It will improve the overall performance and productivity of an employer. This is now just in partnership. We can further expand this relationship to develop a community of like-minded groups enabling their businesses to grow. That's what I'm intending to do here with Rajendra Ji. It's there. It's right there. Right there. It enables a collaboration that supports individual and collective initiatives toward a more self-generating, self-sustaining eco-structure. When people can communicate with each other first by learning to understand how to communicate with themselves. You know what drives us constantly? That which we think we don't have. Not enough money, not enough recognition, not enough status, not enough care for ourselves or other people. So we're looking for it outside all the time. What's the point of studying something as high as Vedanta when you're not practicing it? You don't even know how to practice it. You don't even know what it means. What's the point of doing prayers and mantras with hopeful, wishful thinking and say, please God, answer my prayers? Why should your prayers get answered and not somebody else's? What did you do to deserve your prayers to be answered? Next. The corporate markets are education, to reduce stress in the pre-examination stage that enhances performance of students, fitness optimization, optimizing the training you will receive, achieving mental, emotional, physical fitness. How many fitness trainers can say that they will do that for you? Optimize your mental, emotional, physical fitness. Quantum mind power training for personal trainers and life coaches. That's a course that I teach, right? Because lots of people become life coaches, but they don't do any work on themselves. None. I know. I've checked the top ones in the UK and in Europe, and they start at 1,200 pounds for 3 days, and they go up to about 5,000 pounds for a week. They take a lot of money for not very much input, because they don't know how. It's just motivational speaker language. And HR, reduction of absenteeism, burnout prevention, workflow balance, new mind health model beyond psychiatry and psychology. New mind health model beyond psychology and psychiatry. Where we are not isolating the different parts and spending years, luckily if it's months, but years in therapy. A lot can be shifted quickly. You've got to give confidence back to the person that they can do something for themselves. I say that I wake a person up because they're sleeping in the boot of the car. And once they wake up, they're sat in the back seat. At least they know that they're in a vehicle. But someone else is doing the navigating and someone else is driving. So this is about teaching you how to navigate. Develop your own GPS and take driving lessons. How to drive your own car in life. Yeah. Finally, various therapeutic and medical health systems can benefit from seeing everything in an integrated way, not a holistic way. It's different. Holistic means there's still separate parts that are there and you employ them to just make the symptom better and get results quicker. It's not teaching people how to navigate and how to drive. How to wake up. I say wake up, shake up, remake up. Means reprogram. Yeah? Next. So the bioelectric assessment allows us to look at the effects of psycho-emotional condition on the physical body and what stressors are causing the biggest problems. Yeah, you can actually see this. It maps out the functioning of the sympathetic, parasympathetic parts of the autonomic nervous system in order to see how well these systems work together. Then, the incoherence between parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system is what we refer to as stress. If you have coherence between parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, then you're managing your stress. But when you're not, that is the cause of it. So, has anybody had an answer before? If I say, what is stress? You're like, I'm not sure. What causes it? I don't know. Could be anything. Actually, it's this. Scientific language, you see, right there. The incoherence between the parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system is what we refer to as stress. You get it? If there's no coherence, it's creating a stress, an imbalance, leading to a condition that you cannot manage. That is a stressor for you. That is why some people have no problem with heat, but others do. They have no problem with humidity, barometric pressure, radio waves, and so forth and so on. Do you understand? Because their system has found a way to adapt. It is all about adaptation. And adaptation is all about acceptance. And acceptance is all about learning how to be responsible for your existence. And not pointing the finger. It's my mother's fault, father's fault, my job's fault, my boss's fault, the government's fault. It's God's fault. Everything's outside of us. We look for fault, not cause to effect. Making some sense? Finally, depending on which organ or body system we find the highest stress in, we can trace true cause to effect for both the psycho-emotional as well as the physical conditions leading to illness and disease. Stop looking on the surface and take a scan and check what's going on, what's going wrong. Usually, not in vivo, because the sample is outside of you. It's not in real time in the physical body. What's going on between the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the physical body, and your body electric. Make some sense? Next, please. So, here is an example. You're going to see it. We're going to show you of what the chart looks like. It's a small box charging 5,000 volts, no amperage, releases photonic emissions from your fingertips, here the pad of the finger. Each of them is then divided into different sectors, which are related to different systems in the body. And according to the glow and the intensity and the area, we can measure in joules, energy fields in joules. So it's scientific. That is a scientific parameter. The energy level, which is an indicator of how well you're managing stress. Next, please. Then, more examples. It's been extended to the chakra system, and these are bar graphs to show numbers and where you are, how well you're managing. It's there. And then this is a pie chart where you will see all the systems in here, and basically there is a pattern that's being formed. The pattern is an indication of how well you're managing again. But also, you need to understand no one size fits all, and no one medicine suits all. We must understand the principle. One person's medicine can be another person's poison. You have to be very careful, understanding their life state first, and not experiment with someone and say, okay, this drug is normally good for migraine headaches or for depression or whatever. Take it and see what happens. You come back and say, I'm worse. Oh, okay, let's try another one. Let's try another one. Where the person becomes a guinea pig. If we see from here what's going on, you don't have to do all that trying.
What do you do? You use medicine or not?
Yeah, well, natural medicines. Natural medicines. No pharmaceuticals, not one. Not one. But I never tell someone who's on pharmaceuticals to stop, because their system is used to that. Stopping is worse. Is much worse. Suddenly, because the body is used to having that input, that stimulation, those chemistry, those chemicals and that chemistry. So what we do is we decrease the dose of one and start introducing another one, so that the organism starts getting accustomed. That is the adaptation process. Next. The brain intervention, brain tap is proprietary. We talked about audio-visual therapy, etc. Next, audio-visual therapy principles are using these binaural beats, guided visualization, 10 cycle graphic music, and isochronic tones. That means tones in the same time. Okay? The timing. And the power of light therapy is all there. We can talk about it as we're demonstrating. Go next. There's studies that have been made. It's a 2-week study, a pilot study. University students with individual sessions effectively improve quality of sleep, assessed by the Pittsburgh Quality of Sleep Index. Next. And single session results. A single audio session with a headset significantly increased the heart rate variability and parasympathetic activities, as well as decreased stress index and the heart rate in a clinical trial of 100 individuals. Next. There's lots of published information in terms of the efficiency and effectiveness of the biophotomodulation and the audiovisual therapy. These are the feedback that we got from different people. Next. And we also do therapy training. This is client is a B2B with a student and a co-worker. So the person becomes, we're offering a competitive deal for both technologies and provide intensive training for the bioelectrical assessment diagnostics. After training, each therapist has a chance to practice at our centre in London. We can obviously set that up elsewhere because the learning how to operate is quick, it's only a day, but then you need supervision for about 3 months until you know what you're doing, because you have to apply to a lot of different people. You don't even realize you're getting close to burnout until you collapse. You follow? This will show that. It functions as an early warning system for any type of anxiety, stress, or adrenal burnout, which is extremely important for anyone who wishes to maintain a manageable work-home family life relationship. It allows one to take all of the necessary measurements to avoid any psychomental, emotional, and physical strains that lead to illness. Preventative, it is a preventative indicator to establish a stable foundation for efficient health and wellness. And finally, this is critical for clear, effective communication and overall balance in all areas of our life, especially if we aim to succeed in our short and long-term objectives. Next. And that's it. The main areas we deal with are health, self-development, and life management. The overall health is one thing. We bring that information into your conscious mind. Its purpose is self-development and your management of life. So it is not about symptoms and management of a condition. It's about transforming your entire life. We use your symptoms, your apparent illness, to help wake up, shake up, and remake up. It's very simple. And so here, health is simple level, 8-step program. It's 6 and 8. Advanced level is the integrated health analysis. And this is a 12-step program, introductory health solutions for people who live in cities. Because people who live in cities have many extra stimuli that are exhausting our system, putting our adrenal cortex into overdrive 24/7. How many people wake up feeling refreshed and happy and ready to deal with the world? Not many. It's because you don't sleep. You don't have regenerative sleep. Reparatory, to repair, sleep to repair. Mm-hmm. You see? And the reason is simple. The adrenals just don't rest. Mm-hmm. So finally, integrated health analysis is fully comprehensive assessment session. It starts with, first off, an online health questionnaire that we send to the client before they come to the clinic, and that we ask them their idea of their medical history, their current health condition and what medication they take, relationship they have with their family, with work and colleagues, their perception of money, finance, and overall wealth. Because that stresses everybody. Who is not concerned about money?
Everybody.
Someone who's taking care of you, like kids. Or if you live in a monastery, the monastery takes care of you. Fine. It's not many people. So finally, we then take live blood analysis, nutritional advice that we give to the client. We do the basic medical screening, metabolic age. This is only step 1, and then we do the device assessment. That's our normal approach to the integrated medical model. But here, the mind health takes all this, it's complex, it's involved. I only show this model to people who are interested to co-work with us on the integrated medical clinic. So taking that big step back, let's just look at mind health nice and easy. First, there's a device that does the biological assessment, and the other one is the therapy. And we look for how quickly we can get some results. So if you want to connect, you want to know more, just scan me, please. And that's the talk. Finish. It's supposed to be 2 hours, I've done an hour and 3/4. So, any questions? Any comments, observations? You don't have to ask me questions if you don't have any. Just comments, observations. Because just to say, we'll have 15 minutes for that, and then we'll demonstrate the devices, the assessment. Yes? Hello. Oh, I thought you were going to come. He's going to come up and speak on the microphone. Anyone? Yes.
So, I'm sorry I came a little bit late, but it's like there is a problem, and then there is a health problem, or there is a. What are we solving here? The whole idea. Yeah, I understood that we enhanced that with so many. There were light and so many therapies, and we enhanced that. But how does that look like? Okay, it's like there is generally states, the normal states, like I am, like the not the medically in the medical science definition, not the I'm not unhealthy at the moment, right now at this moment of time, but
That you're
it's like
aware of
enhancing, or like it's like enhancing my capacity right now, or it's like now there is a problem and then we're solving it. I'm not getting it properly. I'm sorry for that.
That's fine. As I said, you did miss out at the beginning. This is about, it was called the science of mindfulness. Then I'm explaining what's behind mindfulness, has to do with your mindset. And the main focus is mind health. What is mind as opposed to mental health? That was there. So this is the distinction between mental health and mind health. Mental health is the problem, as you did see all that. Yes? Statistics. You remember all that. Okay. Mind health is the solution. That's it.
Okay, so we have a device for that.
Yes. As I've already shown, there's one device that does the assessment and the other one does the treatment. We will demonstrate that later. Right now, any other observations, questions, comments of what's being presented? What does it say to you? Something? Nothing? I don't know. I don't know what your backgrounds are. I don't know what your interests are. I don't know what your
mentioned about
experiences.
Doctor. You mentioned about the Vedanta philosophy.
Yes.
So what's the core idea about this? It's like giving solution to the whole humanity about the right mental health. What's the whole core solution that we are giving it here to the humanity?
The core idea is that we've spent at least the last 2,000 years following a Roman model that controls, separates, and then dominates.
That's the whole idea of humanity. That's what's happening in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Do
And
you
then-
like it?
No, we don't like it.
Okay. Would you like a solution for it?
It has created the chaos that we know.
Right, exactly. So this, at least, unless and until you can see what your life state is, which is what this indicates, you have no idea what's going on inside. We can describe to you exactly what's going on according to the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, its impact on your nervous system and your hormones. It's very straightforward.
The whole, I think now we have already talked about this, the whole civilization of the humanity or American capitalism that we have seen. It has been based on
it's not the capitalism.
no,
but
it has been based on the profit. And when you are sick, that's why I think you mentioned when I'm sick, and then we are allopathic doctor or allopathic like medicine producer, then I buy your product, and then you become rich, and then you become more powerful, you have more capital, you have more money.
That is one line of thought. That is one set.
How are you
Agreed. That is one set of conditions. We'll take a step way before that. Why are we not aware of ourselves? Why do we not know ourselves? Any answers? How did that happen?
We are not programmed to question that.
It's simple. You don't go to school to learn about you.
Yeah.
You don't even go to school to learn about how to learn, only what to learn. That's the Roman system.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about how to learn. We only care what to learn. information. At best, if you get your master's PhD, it becomes knowledge. Until then, it's just information. To finish an exam, to get a qualification, to get a job, and to become a good citizen. Or another part of the machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Now, you've had your sandwiches and your coffee. Are you okay? I didn't stop you. I let you all have that.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
And thank
Who
you
would
for that.
like now? I would like to do a demonstration. Would you like to? Be
Which
my
demonstration you are doing?
muscle testing. Muscle testing. Do you know what muscle testing is?
I have not done that.
You've not done it? I'll show it. It's
So
simple.
it's already 7 countries, so 7 continue or go for both of times because I have another program.
Okay, I'll do muscle testing. Take your arm out. You're right-handed.
Yeah.
Make a fist. And now test strong. Make your arm strong. That's it. Just strong. You don't have to look here. You can look straight ahead. Very good. Now, I am going to say something really simple. What is your name? Say what your name is.
My name is Google.
Very good. Okay. Now, say, my name is Shakti.
My name is Sakti.
And look what happens.
There is no Sakti here.
Your body knows that's not your name. So your body is saying, hang on a second, you've done something funny to me. Okay. Now, test strong again, it's good. Now I'm going to do some organ tests. Here, and look what happens. You can feel in your body, yeah? I'm saying nothing of what I'm doing. Okay. You're a doctor here, so you know more or less. They're not all the same. I'm testing different organs, and I will tell you all later what the organs are. As a doctor, you will know more or less. And bring it back, and it gets, see, I'm switching things on and off. Very, very simple. Now that was quite quick. See the difference? That was liver. Now let's go back. Back, and I'm going to test here. Nice, there we go. Yeah. That one's quite quick. Stomach, that gets you. More or less back to normal. Okay, let's try here. Spleen, and now I'm going to press the here. The immune system is quite fast. You see what I do? I switch on and off. I've said nothing, so that way in muscle testing, they stand in front of you normally, they put one hand here, and they look at you and they say things. So they're influencing you with placebo. I say nothing. I stay behind and I just do this. That shows me how strong you can feel. I was applying the same pressure, but your body was not able to resist it. Now I put this one. Test. Okay, here. Nice and strong. Just hold it in your left hand. You can feel the difference. Now,
Can you come
place
a
it.
bit closer? Can
Place
you
it
come a
on
bit
your
closer?
brain, left brain. Place the device. Place it here like that. Place it there. Good. Now. That's not too bad. See, it means your brain, you can see it's weaker, but your brain is adapted. Not so well. Now put it down here in the gut. The three brains.
Almost 7:30, so that's why I think.
So, these things have an impact on your body. You can see in what ways. Everybody is different, but they certainly weakens your energy. That's the important thing. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think we have demonstration.
Two events.
Demonstration.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good evening, namaskar everyone. Thank you so much for coming here from your busy schedule and staying here and listening to me attentively. And I would like to express gratitude to Southwestern State College Administration and especially Dr. Rajendra Kesi and Madam Rajendra Kesi who organized this program. So we are grateful to you. And I would like to express special gratitude to Mr. Constantine Pavlidis. It's very difficult for us to pronounce his name, but with the passage of time that becomes used to, and probably that will be a very common name for us. He has flown all the way from the United Kingdom, and I think you are flown here from Calcutta, right, this time? So he has recently received APJ Abdul Kalam Award also, and at the same time sometime back he had received another award, that was Mahatma Gandhi Award, along with Dr. Rajendra Kesi. So
Every time I meet to him.
in that connection, they were introduced with each other. So we are very lucky to have you here, and you flew all the way from the UK. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts and your experiences on such an important topic. But some of us could not understand it properly, and in my case also, maybe some of the things I could understand, some of the things I could not understand. And at the same time, you try to demonstrate by using my face and all these things. This topic and this presentation was full of, it was very lively and full of your energy, and in fact you wanted to continue further, but we ourselves are stopping you not to go further. So that itself shows that how energetic you are. So I would like to once again express hearty gratitude to you and your team. Thank you so much. And with this, I would like to conclude today's this event.